Good morning and welcome to another rainy spring day here in Northeast Oklahoma. By the time it gets done, I'm going to have to hire a damn brush hog out of Kiefer, Oklahoma to get this yard cut. And if I mention it one more time, my husband's going to kill me. He's sick of me even talking about it. He goes, the yard's going to get cut when the yard gets cut. That's all he keeps saying. So how are my beautiful friends today? I'm letting people get piled in here. Woo, yesterday was a crazy day, was it not, my friends? Was it not? There's my friend Karma. She knows all about the rain. She sent me that text Saturday night about the floods in Moore, Oklahoma. Couldn't believe it. Walking Dead is new here. Everybody please welcome Walking Dead. Woo. But yesterday was a crazy day. Stephen Stearns' preliminary hearing got moved. With good reason, still waiting on the judge's decision about suppressing the evidence. Just Me said yesterday was too much. It was crazy. Well, that judge has more patience than me because I'd be like burning the Constitution and I'd go ahead and I'd give him some lye soap and one of those wire scrub brushes and I'd tell him just take care of that thing himself. Well, let's take a minute and let's tell everyone good morning. Good to see you. Glad you are here. You know the routine. Now, today, up my sleeve, I have more than a special show for you. You are going to absolutely fall in love with the ladies I have backstage. You already know Aunt Molly, but she brought a friend with her. And let me tell you what, this lady can sit with us. Now, I know today is not Wednesday, but I have a feeling she's got a special t-shirt coming and you ladies are going to make it happen. Let's go ahead and introduce her into She Can Sit With Us. Just Me said, I will wear pink in my soul. Yes, you guys are going to absolutely love her. But before I bring up our guests, you know how we do. I am going to give you a recap of the case because we do have some new people in here. For one, Walking Dead, she's new every week. And I really want Just Mal to come on the show and discuss Alana with me. You see, the more, I hate the word, creators. We just had Easter. We know there's only one creator. But the more creators that talk about Alana, and I can't promise they're going to agree with what I say. It doesn't work that way, but the more, the better. And Mal, she can sit with us, even though she's wearing that damn Atlanta t-shirt.
All my beautiful friends doing. I hope you all are having an amazing week and welcome back to Crime Time with Mal. If you have no idea who the heck I am, hi, hello, and welcome to my channel.
Okay, I do
that I have came across on YouTube, and I am so dang lucky to have y'all. In today's video, I heard about this case from Crime Line and Lines. I will link their YouTube channel down below, and I think it's very interesting. This case spoke to me a lot. I have a whole playlist on my channel. I will link up here if you're interested in checking out all about cases like this where it's ruled as a self-unalive, but it seems a little bit more than what it is. And I have a long story of why I am intrigued by these cases. Long story short, when I was 2 years old, my grandpa was shot 6 or 7 times. I'm not quite sure, but I know he was shot multiple times in the chest and in the back. They ruled it as an unalive. So that is why these cases really speak to me, because it hits close to home. And I honestly believe that when investigators walk into a case and they see this type of thing, that it looks some type of way, I still think it needs to be investigated to the fullest extent. Alana Raffield was found on December 8th, 2020 with a weapon wound to her head. The only problem with this is there are some very bizarre details about this case, and stuff just doesn't make sense. So Alana Marie Raffield was born December 28, 2005, and was born in Walnut Creek, California, and currently living as an only child to her mom, Heather, and her husband, Kevin, in Prague, Oklahoma. On December 8, 2020, around 6:15 in the morning, Heather woke up to let the dogs out, and Kevin was up getting ready for work. Kevin all of a sudden started to hear crying from the garage, and when he went out there, he saw Heather leaning down next to Alana's body on the ground. She was.
And if you remember our previous shows, they're on the playlist. I'm sure it's been linked in here. I can pin it. To know Heather and Kevin is special because they are extremely special people. And when I think about him coming out into the garage and seeing his wife with Alana, I cannot get that picture out of my head. Check out the playlist. Oh, here we go. Shonda, what up, girl? Another Okie. She said, glad you're touching on Alana, Brooks. I found her on TikTok and share her stuff. Awesome. Keep sharing. Keep sharing. Don't forget, we have a whole playlist.
Was laying down flat on her back, and he immediately dialed 911. Police arrived. They started asking if she was left-handed and started asking if she was in a physical altercation the night before. She had bruises all over her abdomen, and her gunshot wound was on the left side of her head. There was no notes. There was no bullet casings found around, and Alana is right-handed. So the wound went in from the left and exited out the right. And another bizarre thing is Kevin and Heather's home is not this big, gigantic home. It's a fairly small home, and they never heard a gunshot going off. Now, in the middle of the night, Alana would usually get up and let her puppy out. But what was odd and quite alarming was the way she was found. Another thing that's odd is there's a wall right beside where Alana was found, and there was no bullet hole in that wall from where it exited. So even with all that, now obviously investigators were questioning things because of the entrance of the wound and the bruises on the abdomen. They said that, but even with all these things, no casings being found, no hole in the wall where she was right next to. Within a few weeks, they ruled Alana's death as a self-unalive. 2 years later, Kevin and Heather filed a wrongful death lawsuit and say they are the only ones fighting for justice for Alana, and they need help. A powder residue test was never performed on Alana, but it was on her clothing that the funeral home washed 3 times. And the that was found several feet away from where she was, which is odd. Usually it's right there. That was never tested either. And it was the family's weapon, but the fact that it was never tested for fingerprints or anything like that. And more than that, it was never even confirmed that that was actually the weapon that caused her injury. Now, Alana was also in a relationship with an 18-year-old boy who admitted to police that he logged into Alana's account after she died to get some pictures. He also admitted that he was the one that sent multiple cryptic messages from Alana's account after she passed away. Like, why? Why? And y'all get this. Police did a search on the boyfriend's phone for a disturbing video that the boyfriend told investigators that detailed how to make a murder look like a self-unalive. And what about his phone location that night? Like, where was he that night? Now, here's some extremely conflicting information that I have found so far as the time I'm filming this. The Prague Police Department stated that they never closed the case. The OSBI said that a case was never opened, and the DA's office said it is an open investigation. So which one is it? Is it closed? Is it open? Has it never been open?
Well, it's back open now. And again, Mal can sit with us. Kat created a room in Discord. If you have the Discord app, You want to download it? Kat's going to kill me for this. Here is the invite. We have a whole room for Alana, and you guys have been sharing a lot of what you think happened, could have happened, and all arrows point to Cody. So without further ado, I'm going to bring out good golly Miss Molly. You all ready for that? You ready? You ready? You know her? You love her? And then our special guest. All right, Aunt Molly, how's it going, girlfriend?
It's going.
How much rain have you got over there?
Oh my gosh, it rained all night, and then so Moore is just right by Norman, and so it was an obstacle course the other night to get through town, get to our home, but it's the rain is the least of my problems.
Yeah, just breaking the ice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So what can you tell us?
I'm like, oh, it's raining? Is it?
Yeah. Is it raining? Really? I need to cut my yard. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So give us what you can tell us. What is going on in the last week or since we talked last time?
Oh my gosh, it feels like it's been a month because so much happens in, even just a day. So since we spoke, it's been just over a week. Cody was bailed out of jail.
Do we know, or can we say who bailed him out?
We do know. It was his foster grandparents, who he calls his foster grandparents. And that was on the docket. It shows the name who, that's public record. That isn't insider information. So that was very discouraging to us because, I mean, what good is he going to do now? What good did he popped on Facebook page to write a couple of paragraphs of deflection and closed it off with a little Bible verse. So that was really adorable. And the whole town was going after him, like the audacity that you have, like, what are you doing? And then he had a few of his minions that he had about 2 or 3 people that were, yay, Cody, love for you, Cody, justice for Cody, team Cody. Okay. But it was basically a deflection post, which on par for Cody and his friends. So,
well, and our guest backstage, he thought he was going to fool her, but she can see through it. And by the way, Cody, I know you watch this show.
Mm-hmm.
I would love for you to become a member. Matter of fact, one time we gave out an Instapot. So if you come to the members live and you win at trivia, you wouldn't believe some of the prizes we get. And I would have no issue having Cody up.
No,
not at all. We're just going to let you talk.
Yeah, everybody gets to talk.
I'm going to let you introduce our guest.
So this amazing woman was our knight in shining armor on the day that I thought I was just going to go see, Cody at the courthouse and maybe see the DA and just, I didn't know there was going to be a huge revelation happen, but this is the bond enforcer who learned of all of the other shenanigans Cody had going on and said, no, sir, not today, not on my dime. So this is the GOAT, Carol Knight.
All right, let's bring her up. I'm going to call this Today in Oklahoma. Goat energy. And again, I told you ladies, wait till you get to know her. I feel like I've known her forever and I've only spoke to her for about 10 minutes in my whole life. Welcome, Carol.
Good morning.
Good morning. Now I'm going to play the video where he was arrested first. All right, Carol, first I'm going to ask, and if there's anything you don't want to answer, it's quite okay. This is dangerous work. How did you get into doing what you do?
Oh, I've been in this for 25 years.
Mhm.
And so it happened. It just happened. But it's been a good 25 years. We have the opportunity to help where we can. Bail is an interesting business. You help the ones you can. Bondsmen have the right to surrender clients when problems are presented. And in this case, the question arose as to what is his name? Who is he? There are multiple aliases that were never disclosed to the bondsman. There were other issues. If he's failing to appear in court in civil cases, then what's going to get him to go to court in a felony case? It increases the risk for the bondsman that the person may not go to court. So the bondsman has the right to surrender the person. So the bondsman, in this case, Tamara Madewell, she called and said, I have a problem. I don't know who he really is. We have this and that and all the other issues going on. And so I need to surrender him today. Now let me also say that a bond is a piece of paper. It could be rewritten. So if they could secure the bond, then the bondsman can rewrite it and the person can be released from jail. But in the meantime, she felt like he needed to go back into custody and then reevaluate. Who is he? Where is he? What is he doing? And so a bondsman has a responsibility to see to it that the client goes to court. If they don't know where they are, they don't know who they are, they don't know what they're doing, how can they ensure to the court that the person will go to court?
Now, had you ever run across anything like that before where there's so many aliases you don't even know who the person is?
Unfortunately, yes. Even though law says that if you knowingly go to a bondsman and lie to them or not, or fail to disclose that the person has multiple identities, you can be charged with a crime yourself. But the family, when they co-signed, they didn't disclose that there were multiple aliases. So it becomes a problem for the bondsman.
Did you get any sort of, I'm just going to say, any vibes from Cody?
So let me just tell you about, of course, the arrest. You saw the arrest. The arrest went quiet. I asked him if he had anything on him that was illegal, knives, weapons, guns, drugs, and he replied no. So that's when we left the floor of the courthouse. Now, we don't have transport vehicles. Well, I do have a transport vehicle, but we don't use it very often. But so we take him to the parking garage and I transport him to the jail. Now, unfortunately, This was an in-court house arrest, so I'm not required to be dressed, typically if I'm working for the bondsman as bail enforcement, which, let me back up, I'm licensed for, I'm a licensed bondsman. I have a cleat license for bail enforcement. I serve process too. But, if I'm working for the bondsman and I am being paid, then I'm required to be marked specific words with bail enforcement or bail enforcer. In this instance, I was just a bondsman assisting another bondsman. So I wasn't marked. I did not have body cams on, and nothing was recorded. But I transported him. So we go to my car. I transport him to the jail. And the interesting part about transporting people is, and I've transported thousands of people over the last 25 years, and we have different conversations. The conversation with Cody was strange, to say the least.
Okay, I have a question from the chat, then we're going to get to it. Butterfly Kisses wants to know, is his bond revoked? You would be the best person to explain what's really going on.
Yes, so at the point where he's arrested and returned to custody, his bond is revoked. But the bond is a piece of paper. It can be rewritten. The revocation was due to aliases, failure to disclose the aliases, and the fact that he had failed to appear in court in civil court. So that changes the risk factor for the bondsman.
Okay, and what would the risk factor be for you? Let's say just not even so much Cody, anyone.
So when a bondsman posts a bond, it's real money that we're playing with. That bondsman posted, I believe, was a $5,000 bond. If he fails to appear in felony in district court, criminal court, like he did in civil court in another county, the bondsman would have to pay the court the full face value of the bond, $5,000, or fine him, pay bounty hunters, have him arrested, or whatever they needed to do. But the bondsman ultimately is responsible for anything that happens because of the posting of the bond.
Okay, our girl Susan has a question for you. Do they forfeit the money because of the lies?
Good question. So when a bond is posted, the premium is typically 10%. So in this case, it would be a $5,000 bond. The premium would have been $500. Law says that the premium is earned when the bond is posted and the person is released from custody. So the money for the bond was earned the moment he walked out of the jail. Now, when he violated by failing to appear in court in civil court and the disclosure of the aliases, he violated the contract, not the bondsman. So the bondsman does not have to return the premium for the bond that was earned the moment he walked out of the jail.
Okay, we have another question. Butterfly Kisses again. She said, so after he goes to court, will they rewrite his bond?
No. So the bond was revoked. He was surrendered to the jail. He was rebooked. And then the family has posted a $5,000 cash bond. So once a cash bond is posted, there's really no way to revoke it. If he fails to appear in court, that bond, that cash bond will be surrendered to the court. And the court will use it for a variety of different things.
But now, if he shows up, which I have a feeling he will, they get their money back, correct?
Correct. With a cash bond, then the person that posts the bond gets the cash back.
Okay. And V. Oakley said, if there was an inkling of a possible murder, I'd never put a bond up for this dude.
I think that's probably why the family ended up posting a cash bond. It would be very difficult to get another bondsman because let's face it, everybody, if you're a bondsman, it's just like any other industry, bondsmen talk.
Mhm.
And so, it got around pretty quickly that he may be under investigation for a murder. And the issue of, um, who is he? All these aliases. I don't think anybody, the bondsmen that were contacted, could even get an actual address of where he's living. So that's a risk factor. You have to, bondsmen, before they write a bond, they go through the entire situation and start adding up the risk factors to post the bond, and then they decide accordingly. Now, maybe in this case, they could have used collateral, they could have used property, they could have used cash collateral to repost the bond. But when a bond gets risky, then someone besides the bondsman has to be responsible.
Okay, now let's get to it. Is that the first time you met Aunt Molly? Was there when the arrest was going down?
Yes, we actually didn't get even just a second to speak. My concern, when I got the phone call, my concern was more for the bondsman than anything else. The bondsman said, this family is going to go to court and confront him because they have this $11 million judgment, and he failed to appear. He defaulted. He failed to appear for the hearing or to respond to the hearing in civil court. And so, as a bondsman, we're always looking to protect the risk that we have. So we didn't want anyone to confront him and actually cause him to not go to court, because then it becomes the bondsman has a big problem. And if he is someone who is going to have the possibility of murdering people, the bondsman doesn't want him out running loose. So we don't want to have to chase him in the streets. The courthouse is the best place to get him. So we asked the family, leave it alone. Let us go over there and check it out and find out what we have to do. So once he appeared in court, we made the decision that the bond would be revoked. I told the family that they could go over to the floor if they were respectful. Don't, you can look, look, but don't touch. And so that we would take care of what we need to take care of. Now, we didn't tell them that we were going to revoke the bond. They didn't know any of that, just that we were there standing by, and I didn't get a moment really to meet anybody. It was just a hello, 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 and then I had to go back to work.
Mhm. All right, I'm going to play the video again for people just coming in. Ooh, that look of contempt he had for Molly, that scared the bejesus out of me. Now, did you happen to have any convos with him, Carol?
Sure. So I transported him to the jail, and I'm just going to go through the conversation. It was strange. I've had that conversation with a lot of people between the arrest and getting them to the jail, and it's always different. But the first thing he asked was, Is this about the Alana thing? Now, in all fairness, I'd only been in this for what, an hour between shower and driving to the courthouse. I really hadn't even heard her name. And so I said, who's that? And he says, just some girl. Then yeah, that's at the point where I realized that she's who we're talking about here. And he says, just some girl. So, it takes you a little bit, but you can't slap them. I'd get into trouble.
Well,
So,
I would love to see you mama him, and I love what you said to me before the show. If you just let people talk, they'll tell you the truth.
that's right. They'll tell you everything you need to know if you just listen to them, pay attention. They will tell you. But he says, just some girl. And I said, so how did you meet her? And he gave up another girl's name that he met. He met Alana through another friend, and that he was really more friends with the friend that introduced them than with Alana. And then I said, well, did you date? And he said, not really. He said, but I had feelings for her. So that was really kind of interesting that if he admits that they weren't really dating, but he had feelings for her, that's really, as a mom, that's not a good spot to be in. If you've got some fellow that's got feelings for especially since she was quite a bit younger than he was, it really led me to believe that maybe it was an unrequited thing, that um, he wanted to date her. He had feelings for her, but she was just some girl. As far as she was concerned, he was just some guy. Um, we continue the conversation. It's about from parking lot to the front of the jail, it's about 6 minutes. So that's how long our conversation lasted, was about 6 minutes, maybe a little longer. We did hit 2 stoplights, but he says the conversation at that point really took a turn for the strange. And so he says, um, they think, back up. He says, um, I don't know if she committed suicide or not. And he said, they think I killed her.
Huh.
We get a
Interesting.
yes. And so he says, this is the first time he makes the comment. He says, they can't prove I did it. Now, he didn't say I didn't do it. He said, they can't prove I did it. I said, well, why would they think that you had anything to do with it?
It.
And yes, with the situation. And he says that they didn't like the way the gun was placed. Now,
Okay, let's
let
slow
me
down.
let me say that again. He says they didn't like the way the gun was placed. Not where it landed or where it was placed. That tells you a lot, I think. He continues down this path of, I'm a hunter, he says. I'm a hunter and I understand blood splatter. And he said, there wasn't any. And once again, the second time, he says, They can't prove I did it. You know, if you listen, people will tell you what you want to know.
I don't want to cut you off, but I'm
No.
thinking about this. When he said, I'm a hunter, I understand blood splatter, and there wasn't any. I couldn't tell you. You know why, Carol? You know why, Aunt Molly? Because I wasn't there.
Right.
You weren't there.
But he's saying, I know about blood splatter because I'm a hunter, and there wasn't any. They don't like the way the gun was placed. Why would he have any control of any weapon in that household? He doesn't live there.
Well, how would he? It's the verbiage, it's the wording placed.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't have anything to do with someone doing that to themselves, and you question where the gun landed, what happened to the gun,
Mm-hmm.
but he didn't say that. He said where the gun was placed.
Placed.
Mm-hmm.
And he's such a chameleon. He loses weight. He gains weight. He's got shaggy hair. He's got short hair. I've seen his hair changes colors. And I don't mean from being out in the Oklahoma sun over the summertime. I mean, all the different names. I mean, like you said, they didn't know who the hell, who they were even, what they were doing. I mean, who is Cody Baker? He has like 5, 6 names.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
And that's in the court record. So when you start looking at the court record, now remember also that when a bondsman posts a bond, there's no court record. Okay, so the bondsman didn't have that case filing on OSCN to go look at to see all those aliases. When a bondsman posts a bond, they rely on the information they receive from the jail and from the people who co-sign the bonds. If you're not given the entire picture, then it's not fair to the bondsman when the bondsman has to go, hey, wait a minute, you know, we need to we got to rethink this situation. And so that's part of the issue here. When you look at it later, you can see all these aliases. You get the rest of the picture.
Mm-hmm.
But in the beginning, they did not.
I don't think they cared. I think there was something going on with the DA and the prosecutions that he had going on, the bribes he was taking. He said he didn't have any money to prosecute people. So he was basically, from what I'm gathering, taking bribes to not prosecute. And I have a feeling, I can't prove it, it's just a feeling, that old Foster grandma and grandpa, if they ever get an audit trail, might have been part of that deferred prosecution. Retro girl, from what Cody said to you, where the gun was placed and what he said about blood splatter. Retro girl said, so in other words, he staged the scene. He basically confessed to you without saying it out loud. He staged the scene.
You have to listen to people and they will tell you the truth. It's human nature. He wanted to talk. I let him talk. And, it was a non-confrontational conversation, and a very flat conversation. My side is very flat. So I was not, it was, I don't know, maybe he looked at me and thought, oh, here's this nice old lady.
Little did he know.
Yeah, I've been around for a very long time. There's nothing nice, and I'm old. I've been around, but there's nothing nice about me.
Well,
And I don't apologize for that, by the way. I don't apologize.
But when we were talking before the show, like I told you, I said, I have chill upon chill upon chill right now, just from the one statement when he said, they think I did it. Now, what about when he asked you, how can they civilly sue me?
Okay, so we end up at the jail. All right, I transport him to the jail. I'm met by Richard, my partner, and 2 other bondsmen, Tamara Madewell, and then Monica. Shout out to Monica. She showed up just in time to help me out. I had a jacket, and a pouch that I needed somebody to hang on to for me. Shout out to Monica for being there. And so,
Is Monica in here?
no, I don't know if she's in your chat or not. I did tell her. Let's see. I don't have a clue.
I just
If she
want to
is, if
shout
she
out.
is, tell her to speak up. But Monica she was listening to the conversation. She drove over to the jail. She and Tamara are really good friends. And so she went to the jail with us. She met us over. And he continued with the conversation. Now, by the way, he knows about your podcast. He mentioned the podcast. That's where we actually heard that there was a podcast, and we left later and we went looking for this podcast. But the conversation continued. So it's not just me that he made this statement to. They can't prove I didn't do it. He made the comment in front of Richard Bain, in front of Tamara Madewell, in front of Monica Gaddis. So he made the same conversation in front of them. And by the way, he never once said, I did not do it. Now, if you claim that I injured someone, I stole something, anything, if you make an allegation against me and I didn't do it, the first thing I'm going to say is, I didn't do it. I didn't do it, and I will continue to say I didn't do it. I'm not going to pop up and say you can't prove I did it.
They
Right.
can't prove it. They can't prove it. They didn't like where the gun was placed. And I'm a hunter, and I know about blood splatter, and there wasn't any. Okay,
Correct.
the only
So,
way, Cody, that you would know that is if you were there.
so we're at the jail, and the conversation continues because the county jail is not known for their quickness. When a bondsman surrenders someone, we have a specific area that we go to. We don't go around the back of the jail. We're not law enforcement. We don't go around to the backside of, at least in Oklahoma County. Now it's different in other counties, but in Oklahoma County, we're not allowed in the Sally Port. We don't go around the back end of the jail. We go right straight through the front door. We go through a couple of sliders to a specific area, the attorney bonds area. So we have to hang out there until they have someone free to come and make an arrest for us. So we were there for in excess of half an hour, getting close to an hour. So the conversation actually continued. And through this entire period, never once did he say, I didn't do it. Probably, I would say in all total, at least a dozen times, he said, they can't prove I did it. He also wanted to know why how could they charge him? How could they sue him in civil court when he had not been charged yet? Pay attention to what he says.
Okay, say that again. Say it slowly. I love this part.
He says, how can I be sued when I have not been charged yet? So, and there were there were four of us standing there. There were other people in the hallway. I don't know that they were paying any attention, but we had a discussion at that point about the difference between civil court and criminal court. Now, I told him I'm not a lawyer, but I do know the difference between beyond a reasonable doubt and a preponderance of the evidence. And that they don't have to have such strenuous evidence to show that you did it. And by now, I had done a little poking on my phone. I noticed that they had done some subpoenas for phone information. Now, we had a conversation with him about phone dumps. In all fairness, I have a son that's a homicide detective, so we talk about phone dumps all the time. But a phone dump will give you everything about that phone, where the phone has been, the latitude, the longitude, the text messages, phone calls, anything you've searched on that phone is going to show up. And a lot of the carriers keep that information for multiple years. And some of them will even say, oh, we keep the information for 5, but they actually keep it for 8. They have long-term storage of a lot of this phone information. And so we're having this conversation about the difference between civil court and criminal court, phone dumps, evidence. And I have a text message on my phone where we're talking about phone dumps and what they can get. And I said, and they take a phone dump when they're doing a good investigation, they will take a phone dump, and everybody that was contacted to or from the phone that they've dumped, now they're going to dump their phone. And then they're going to dump the phones of those people, and they will just build a massive tree of information if they're doing it right. They will build a massive tree of information that will tell everyone who was in conversation where all these phones were, what were they doing in this situation. Because at the point where they're looking at him, they begin to look at all of the leaves around him on the tree. Who else is involved if they're doing it right?
Mhm.
And so when you start dumping these phones, you start getting this communication going back and forth. And so I said that in front of him, and his ears and his face turned bright red. I sent a text message to the actual bondsman. I said, look how red his face is. And it was at that point that he started to shut down. But he did give us one last, they can't prove I did it.
I love when they say that. Now, I will say this publicly for myself. If anything happens around me to anyone I know and they do a phone dump, I'm fucked. Okay. Because I
No.
have a true crime podcast, and between my internet searches, conversations I have with people, you'd see me in Tulsa County. So let me just go ahead and let everyone know that. Okay. Forgive me if anything happens around me.
I think the difference here is that you don't have criminal intent.
Right.
Because mine would be pretty bizarre too. I'd hate for my phone to get dumped. They'd say, now what are you thinking here?" But no, I think that, if
One of his searches. I mean,
Right.
he wanted to know how to make murder look like suicide.
the interesting part is that I wasn't privy to any of this information until after.
Mm-hmm.
And so it takes the conversation, because remember, I get a phone call, I need your help right now. I mean, I'll be honest, I was on the road the day before the entire day. I got home late, and so I get this urgent phone call at 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm still watching the news in my jammies.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we go from urgent phone call, shower, courthouse. I had zero time to find out about anything except I'm going to work. But that's part of the last 25 years, all right? That, it's an urgent phone call. Come now, help me. That's what we do. That's what bail enforcers do. And let me plug all of the BEs in the state of Oklahoma. They're all licensed. They all do a good job, and they all do it at zero taxpayer dollars. Bail is offender funded from start to finish. Okay, so, and it's the only system that is offender funded. So we're used to jumping up and running.
Now explain that. Offender funded.
Okay, so you go out and let's do something easy, a DUI. All right, you got a DUI. You go to jail, and you don't want to sit in jail. You call your mama, and mama calls a bondsman. The bondsman goes to the jail and posts a bond, and you're paying the bondsman. And then or your mom's paying the bondsman, and then when you get out of jail, mama's going, okay, give me my money back. You got the DUI, give me my money back. Now, because you've posted a bond, you've got to hire a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
So you're paying the lawyer, and you're going to court. If anything happens, you don't go to court, and the bondsman has to send someone like me and my crew out, then the bondsman is paying, and then the bondsman is looking at your mom, the cosigner, saying, now She ran off. She didn't go to court. I had to hire these people to go track her down and bring her back. Pay for it. It's the offender. Everything goes back to whoever was arrested. Now, I'll also throw out that not everybody is guilty. All right. I love when you hear people say not everybody's guilty. Okay. Um, that's a very small percentage of people. I think police, I really, it irritates me when people say police are doing a really bad job. Now, in this case, I think they were, the, Prague Police Department was maybe a little over their head. Earlier, I had heard someone say that if there is a situation like this, I guess there are words that we're not supposed to use online, but if there's a situation like this and it's in Oklahoma City, homicide detectives go out and make sure that there's nothing that says there's a problem. So there are places that do it right. And when, especially when we talk about Oklahoma City, they go above and beyond to make sure that it's not something that is ugly going on. And they
And
have,
so Tulsa has no problem unloading on OSBI saying, hey, we need help here.
correct.
Mm-hmm.
So, if as long as they're doing it correctly, and I think for the most part that they do. So I don't think that there are a whole bunch of people running around getting arrested
No.
for things that they did not do. Now, there is no doubt, it has to be proven in court. You have to have witnesses. You have to have people that will come forward with information. We do have a problem in, I'm in Oklahoma City, so we'll discuss Oklahoma City. We have a problem quite often with people who will not come forward because they fear retaliation. So you also have to, as a bondsman, people will say, well, don't you worry when I've arrested thousands of people in 25 years. Don't you worry about them coming back. Well, you always have to be paying attention. You always have to be watching. I tell people in my business, don't be slipping. All right. And you have to do the same thing at the point where you are confronting situations like this. Anyone who's confronting situations like this, don't slip. Don't slip. When you
No.
go to the grocery store, don't slip. Don't be preoccupied. Don't stick AirPods in your ears and ignore what's going on around you. And quite frankly, that's everybody these days in the world that we're living in. Pay attention. Don't slip.
Don't slip. I love
That's
that.
right. So,
Now, this question's going to be for Molly. Oklahoma Joe 405. I'm assuming you're from the 405, not the 918 like me. Says, sounds like his grandparents are trying to keep him quiet, maybe recovering themselves. Now, we had another comment earlier. I believe it was Trucking for Autism that said, sounds like other people are involved. I don't think old grandma and grandpa were part of the red rum, but I do believe grandpa's truck was used. Molly, do you want to answer this?
I am under strict orders to not talk about that. But
well, she has to be careful too, because when you're talking in public, if you don't have proof of what you're saying, or if you weren't involved in the conversation, then you could be sued for libel and slander. And
Sure.
so, and I'm not a lawyer, but I've actually been sued for libel and slander
Hey,
over public documents. Even when you're right, even when what you're saying is true, you can still be sued for libel and slander. Then you have to defend it, which is very expensive. And sometimes maybe things are working in your favor, and so you just got to let sleeping dogs lie.
mm-hmm.
ooh, I love that.
Yeah. So I'm specifically leaving them out of this equation at the moment. Then so I'm like, I'm gonna be good.
Well, can I be bad? I mean, it's my show. I have a disclaimer and I have
Oh
an
you have
Okay,
you do
Oklahoma
what you do.
405. And this is allegedly, this is in my opinion, this is pure speculation. I think grandma and grandpa are scared shitless that he used one of their weapons in grandpa's truck, hence why grandpa was asking him the next morning where he was and didn't give a shit before. Why the truck was never looked at, which still can be. If you guys know about the case out of Alma, Arkansas, little Morgan Nick, they traced down the sale of that truck. They went through all the titles and they found it. And even after all those years, they found her blood in the truck. Now, that's a special lab out of Texas. Where in Texas, I don't remember. My friend Pat went to the booth at CrimeCon. So I think it'd be easier for them to keep little fat bastard with them and keep him shut up, because they do not want to have any issues out of this. If he's sitting in jail and he's bored and he's eating his beefaroni and drinking his Diet Pepsi, you don't know what he's going to say. Monica Gaddis has a question. Was he not released by the Bail Project?
So the answer to that is originally we were told that the Bail Project had put up the cash, but it looks like the grandmother and the grandfather, they put up the cash. So they posted a cash bond when they couldn't find a bondsman.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Now, let's talk about that. Why could they not find a bondsman? Because people talk. Hell, even funeral homes talk. If you got some contention of a will, or you've got a brother that says, oh, my parents wanted to be cremated, and you're like, no, they wanted to be buried. They talk amongst themselves and they're like, no, thanks.
well, remember too, when the original bondsman posted the bond, the only information that they had was what they could get at the jail, which is a one piece of paper that says what name they're booked under, the date of birth, the charges, the bond amounts, when they were booked. Okay, so but now the bondsman that looks at it has the ability to look at OSCN and see all these aliases, and they look them up and see that he's got an $11 million judgment, and see that he failed to appear in civil court after being subpoenaed to go to civil court. So it gives you a better picture of how you need to when you assess the risk, and how you need to cover that bond. Now, I didn't get that phone call, but if they're talking to the grandparents, and let's say the grandparents are retired, they have no employment. So who are you going to go after if the bond goes bad and you end up in court? Because you still have to assess the risk. You have to cover the bond accordingly. So, and just like now, he's got a court date coming up in the civil case. It's called a hearing on assets. And remember, I told you I served process. So I was able to drop those papers off for him, and he was properly served, and he will have to go to court in the civil case. If he doesn't show up, the court can issue a warrant for his arrest and put him in jail over there. So, just because it's civil court, and I think he wanted to minimize that it was civil court. He can end up in jail in civil court too if he fails to appear on an HOA, a hearing on assets, where he's ordered to appear.
Yeah, if a judge says, I need you in my courtroom, let's say at 9:30 a.m. on any given Tuesday, your ass better be there.
That's the right way to do it. And so that's one of the things, once again, about bail, is that bondsmen have the best ability to get people to go to court. Because if he decides he's not going to go to court in Oklahoma County now on his drug charge, the only thing that's going to happen is the court will take the money that the grandparents have put up as bond, and they will keep it. Okay, they'll put it in there, the general fund, it'll go up to the state, and it will be distributed back into the court system. So there won't be anyone looking for him outside of, he'll have a warrant, and if police come in contact with him. But you won't have a bondsman, and you won't have bail enforcers, you won't have bounty hunters out looking for him. And that we are the best way to get people to go to court.
Mhm.
We have I was really concerned, and I was watching every day because I was concerned that one of these fabulous diversion programs, that's the big tick word now. You should really look at who these diversion programs are getting out of the jail. And the one in Oklahoma County, they don't care. You can murder someone, you can rob, you can beat your kids, you can be illegal, you can be a drug trafficker, you can traffic fentanyl. You can go out, get drunk, and crash into someone at a high rate of speed and kill them. And you can get yourself into a diversion program, walk out of the door of that jail, get a free lawyer, and taxpayers are paying it.
They're
One
doing
and a
that.
half million, $1.5 million in Oklahoma County. Oklahoma County taxpayers are paying for a program, a diversion program called Team, it's not offender funded, it's taxpayer funded. And so I was really glad that they stayed away from him too. I don't know if they actually looked at him or if they saw all the talk going around the bondsman, but they left him alone, and which really, it really was blindsiding me that they didn't go and get him out.
I mean, look what they're doing in other states. No bond, no bond, no bond, no bond. It's basically catch and release. ROR is what they call it.
Yes.
Release on your own recognizance. So you go in, and unless it's something like, first degree murder, and then they just turn them back loose. New York,
Even murder, they're giving people who murder other folks release to these programs, and taxpayers are paying the bill. And by the way, they're not going to court. Statistically, people that are released on, I call it bail versus non-bail, non-bail releases, 54% of them fail to appear for the very first court appearance. Arraignments, you don't even need a lawyer. 54%, this is Oklahoma County. It's just as bad in Tulsa, but I don't have their statistics. But 54% of them don't even bother to go to arraignments. Okay, and so then as the case goes along farther, it gets worse. We've actually, and we've done requests trying to get the names of the people that are in these programs, our open records requests, which are being ignored. And we're putting these requests in legally, and we're being totally ignored. So if we have a lawyer in Oklahoma that likes open records violations, give me a call, because they're required. They're taking in $1.5 million of county taxpayer dollars to run a county program, and they actually closed out a county office in favor of this ministry, a nonprofit, by the way. They don't, nonprofit. I love that term. But we were finally able, they have to file a report now that says how many failed to appear. And they have really creative math on the reports that they send into the court. But what we found was the ones that failed to appear in the third quarter, 76% of them didn't even make one court appearance between release and failure to appear. 76% of these people didn't even make one court appearance.
damn.
And so they're out there committing more crimes. We were talking about the bail project because originally we thought Cody, the cash bond, had been posted by the bail project, but it was not. It was cashed by the parents. But the bail project recently had one. They posted, it was assault and battery on police officer and obstructing. Now, if you'll fight with the police, you'll fight with anybody. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
It is what it is. And so shortly after she was released by the bail project, who unregulated. Bail is totally regulated. Bail project is totally unregulated. And so one of their clients went out a few weeks ago and killed someone. And it happens every day all over the country that people are being released on these bail project programs and they just go out and kill folks. But they're not bondsmen. They don't have a risk factor that they have to deal with. They just run over there and, oh, let me get you out of jail. I don't care what you've done.
Yeah, exactly. It's these head petters. It's these, oh, I'll just give you a hug. I'll chain my naked ass to a tree so you don't cut it down type of thing. I mean, we're dealing with it in Texas right now with this next generation that's trying to turn Carmelo Anthony into like a hero, saying that it's about racism. Well, the lady that is funding this church, her name is Opal Tometi. Okay, but she has changed her name now. It's Ayo Tometi. She actually started Black Lives Matter. Okay, of course, another nonprofit. Now we have another nonprofit turning something into a race war down in Dallas. Now, if Cody went and got him a good old dark spray tan, Opal might come help him.
Well, she wouldn't have to come up here because we have our own little version of Black Lives Matters. It's a program here from Black Lives Matters OKC. Now, that she took in millions of dollars during the protests here in Oklahoma County, in Oklahoma City, and so she was posting cash bail. Now, let me back up. Um, Oklahoma law requires if you are involved in posting bail, whether it's as a bondsman, uh, grandpa posting bonds for little Cody, you can only do, if you are not regulated like bondsmen are, if you are not licensed like bondsmen are, you can only post so many bonds using your own cash money. And it's only if you're not being paid. So our previous attorney general decided that nonprofits had the right to post cash bail without being licensed.
Mm-hmm.
And they ruled that they could post cash bail because they are nonprofits and because they are not performing the acts of bondsmen. So when we look at the Bail Project is registered with the state. They're registered as a 501(c) charitable organization. All right, so they're quite legit as far as what the AG says. Now, when we look at the Black Lives Matters OKC posting bail here, she is listed as with the state as a nonprofit, but I cannot find, and I'm qualifying it with, I cannot find where BLM OKC is registered as a 501(c). My guess is that she's trying to use that the national organization is a 501(c), but she's not the national organization. She is, however, posting cash bail here in Oklahoma without a license, with only half of the requirement to be a nonprofit. She's registered herself with the state, but she is not registered with the federal authorities as a 501(c). So I don't believe what she's doing is legal, but I'm no one. I'm
Yeah,
just a bondsman.
we can't make those decisions. They make them for us. And the word of the day, besides yet, as Cody said,
Yet.
but coming to this conversation is CASH, cash bond. If it was going to be a 10% down, they'd be like, no, you got to have cleat, you got to have your escrow, you got to have this, you got to have this, you got to have that. Hey, cash works all day. Has anybody ever turned down cash? Anybody ever opened up a birthday card and said, oh, I didn't need that $10 from grandma? Oh my gosh, I got $5 from Aunt Beth. No, cash works every day.
It truly does. But there's no there's no recourse as far as if he fails to appear in court, then he becomes the problem of the police only, and they'll have to chase him around.
Yeah. All right. So back to, okay, nicely done said, I changed my mind about cash bail. It's not about being poor. It's about violent people being poor. Explain what you're talking about, because violence is violence. You can be rich and be violent. You can be rich, and I want to understand what you're saying. I mean, let's face it, there's a huge difference between, let's say, Carol going to jail for murder and O.J. Simpson. We saw that shakeout.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a big difference between Evelyn Boswell going to trial for the murder of her daughter Evelyn and Casey Anthony, because, well, Casey Anthony had Jose Baez, and there was a lot of entertainment value, I hate to say it, to the case.
Well,
I don't think that just violent people are, I don't just think violent people are all poor. I think there's a lot of socioeconomic issues to what drives people to do certain things. But we're not talking about that today. We're talking about Cody's fucking fat ass.
well, true, but you also have to have a good handle on the difference with cash bail and the person was asking about being poor. If I don't have a problem with, let's say, Molly goes broke and Molly writes a bad check at the grocery store to feed those darling little kids she's got. Okay. She made a
Molly,
mistake, but she didn't do it in
Molly
she
needs some
did
money.
yeah, she didn't do it intentionally.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that what if Molly is the one that's running over to the car lots and using forged checks, forged documents to pick up a new pickup truck
Yeah.
and drive it over to the state line over to Texas and sell it.
Mhm.
All right. So the bond amount for that bogus check is the same amount.
Mm.
Molly did it on accident. The other chick ran across the state line and stole a truck and then went and sold it. So you've got to temper this idea that people are sitting in jail because they're poor or they're broke. If it is a person who is making their money off of criminal enterprise, they should never get a freebie. They should never, ever, ever get somebody to come along and post cash. They should never, oh, we're going to let you go to a diversion program. If you're trafficking drugs, if you get up each and every day with the intent, I'm going to go out and traffic drugs, I'm going to get up and go rape, or, I'm going to go break into people's houses and steal so I can sell their property, you should never get a freebie. But they sure, oh, well, they're poor. They're poor. That's why they broke into your house, so they could steal all your stuff and your jewelry and grandma's antique rings. And you become a victim and your property taxes are paying for their release. So you have to, you got to look at the situation differently than just, oh, they're poor. They should get a freebie. No, and the good part about this situation is, I believe in my whole heart that he did it. And when I left the jail after we surrendered him, I believe that he did it. And I walked out the door saying, y'all know he's guilty, right? He's guilty.
And you knew nothing. You didn't know what you know now, but you knew just after hearing what he said, you're like, that's not what innocent people say.
No, innocent people profess their innocence.
Yeah.
I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. It was the one-armed man. I didn't do it. You know, he never said that. He just continued to say, they can't prove I did it.
They can't prove it. I had a crazy, I'd say a couple of month conversation with a suspect in another case. And he said the same thing over and over. They can't prove it. They don't have anything. We have another case out in East Tennessee where the father, talking about little Summer Wells, says they don't have any evidence, they can't prove anything. So when you told me earlier today that that's what Cody said, I almost had to run to the bathroom and puke.
Yeah.
Because it really is that startling to hear him say they can't prove it.
It was just everything he said, and I guess he felt comfortable. I don't know what gave him that opinion, but he felt comfortable making his comments. And it really, after you go back and after it's all over, then I go back over the conversation and to think about him saying, well, this is about the Alana thing. Well, who's Alana? I ask. And he says, just some girl.
Ugh.
Just some girl. She's just some victim. It's the entire criminal, it's the entire judicial system. It's the way criminals have gotten, you're a victim. So what? You're irrelevant. It's like victims. I have to applaud this family for everything that they've done. That's why I didn't take any pay for making the arrest. Even the bondsman said, how much do I owe you? You don't owe me a thing. When I found out there was a HOA that needed to be served, I called up and said, I will serve that for you. And the attorney says, for free? Yes, for free.
Oh,
And he says, why would you do that? And I said, because it's the right thing to do. They've gone so far. Why wouldn't you step up? Why wouldn't anybody that has any information about this case, why wouldn't you step up? Why won't you step up and say, maybe I know something. Maybe I heard something. Maybe I saw something. Whatever little bitty piece of information it is, make the phone call. Because he has said things. If he said things like he said to me, just imagine what he has said to his friends. And shame on them that they haven't picked up the phone and picked up the phone and called someone. It's amazing to me how people will keep and hide other people's secrets.
Yeah.
Can I share some clips of the email from Shonda?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just going to read this. Now, explain who Shonda Baker is, because I do not feel she has anything to do with Alana's murder. And I think that she's also a victim of Cody's. Can you explain who Shonda is?
Shonda was a foster mom. She became Cody's foster mom because she had custody of Cody's younger siblings. They were, I think, 2 months old, or the baby brother was 2 months old whenever she took him in. And DHS told Shonda, well, if you want to keep this baby, and then shortly thereafter, there was another baby, a little girl. If you want to keep them, we want to keep the siblings together. You have to also take in Cody. Cody was with another family in Prague. Okay. And so Shonda said, okay, well, I don't want to lose these, these babies that I've known, taken care of. So she took Cody in.
And I was very confused because I thought she was his biological mother, and I misspoke. And so, like I was telling John, I said, I get really confused by the family tree and aliases.
Right. Right.
So she sent an email to our girl Molly. Yeah. And she said, first, let me say, I am so sorry. We were devastated when we heard the news. Devastated, but certainly not surprised. I have not come forward before because I had nothing pertinent to add to your case. All I had was background information. Secondly, we're scared of him. My daughter is terrified of him. He's part of the reason that she is in therapy. She has struggled to come to terms with how someone that is her biological kin could do something like this. However, when I heard I was abusive and how horrible his childhood was, I could not sit by any longer. Woo! She said, let's start from the beginning. Cody and his two sisters were picked up at 2 years old and placed into a kinship foster home. The girls went to the bio mom's brother, and Cody went to a paternal cousin. Cousin had Cody moved due to his behavior and also having to deal with the bio dad, who is nuts himself, domestic violence, drugs, you name it. She said, I will never forget her words. Tommy is not the type to confront you head on, but he will burn your house down with you in it while you're sleeping. Because of Cody's behavior issues and Tommy, she had him moved and he went into a shelter. Now, I understand that some people are going to be like, oh, poor Cody, poor Cody, poor Cody. Is any of this information, this background information, a surprise to you, Carol?
No. Well, it brings you full circle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because when you meet someone in the situations that I meet them in, then you start finding about all the other things around and all the other parts of the situation. But, it's, no, it's not surprising.
Okay. He was placed then with a friend of mine who had him, I want to say 2 weeks before she had him moved due to his behaviors. This has gone on since he was a very little boy. Okay. He was attacking her son, and it was not the normal roughhousing between toddler boys. Toddler. Remember, we're talking 2, 3, 4 years old. All right. She said, this is different. And he went into a shelter again. Okay, in 2005, she said she got a call to pick up a 2-month-old baby boy. He had a 3-year-old brother. I got the 2-month-old, and the Van Sants, Terrell's daughter and son-in-law, got Cody. The Van Sants are wonderful people, wonderful home. There, the Terrells met him and fell in love with him as well. He was doing well there all at the time. Because DHS insisted on placing the kids together, they told me that I either take Cody or I lose Kagan. By that time, another baby was on the way. I was not going to let them take my baby and future baby girl, so I agreed to take him. She said it was hell on earth. He would get mad. He would pee on the floor. He would destroy his room, toys, anything. He would do anything in such a way you knew it was evil but could not pinpoint it. She said, I thought I was losing my mind. And she said, I assure you, I never beat that child, ever. Was I tempted? LOL, yes. Yes, he got spanked, but never got beaten. During this time, either the Van Sants or the Terrells would come and get him on weekends. By the time he was 5, he had tried to kill Kagan twice. I'm going to pause it right there.
My jaw was on the floor whenever I received this message from her.
I've probably read it 18 times because I couldn't process it.
Yeah. I was like, this makes all the sense. And I'm so thankful that she reached out to give us this information. I feel terrible that she feels like this, she's got to be fearful of, what is Cody going to do now that he knows that I'm sharing information that's damning for him? Mm-hmm. But this is how we make the change.
Yep.
I have to tell you that, so I like statistics. And so I met one of the statisticians over at UCO. And so we were working on some research and putting the statistics together. And so we met with him, and he said And this guy is so smart that your IQ will go up 0.5% just from being in the room with him. You know, that kind of guy.
Mhm.
And so he said something that has stuck with me for more than 10 years. He said, statistically speaking, 16% of the population is bad. Born bad, live bad, will die bad. He said the problem is you don't know for a lot of these people, you won't know for a long time that they were part of that group. Obviously, Cody is he's evidence of that.
Mm-hmm.
That he was born bad, he has lived bad, and he will die bad.
Mhm.
And there's nothing you can do to change it. He says that there is nothing that you can do to change these people. If they are born bad, they live bad, they die bad, there's nothing you can do. You can love them, you can nurture them, you can do everything you can possibly do, but they will still have that bad. And it just sounds like that this kid is one of those. And unfortunately, Alana paid the price for him being
Well,
bad.
he's dodged accountability this whole time. That's why.
His whole life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. I would have posted the bond for her if she
Oh
would have
no,
if she beat that kid's
Not your
ass. I'm
fault.
just saying.
Not your fault.
I'll post that bond for free. You know, that just it's just really sad. I'm so sympathetic with your family, your loss. I mean, we really haven't had a moment to talk about that between, you know, it's always busy, busy,
Mhm.
busy whenever we our paths cross. But you guys have done an amazing job on putting this together and keeping this alive to where maybe someone will look at it who has the
Mhm.
ability to put it all together. You know, I told Cody when we were talking about the phone dumps, I said the interesting thing is that they have these programs, and I won't name the program, but they have these programs that they take all these phone dumps and they dump it into, and then they get this great picture. And that's
Mhm.
what I hope for you is that someone will step up and say, we're going to take this on. And before the information is truly gone, put these phone dumps together
Mhm.
and do what needs to be done. Yeah, and because if you don't, he will do it again. The next
Mhm.
unrequited love,
Mhm.
anyone who dares to get in his way of what he
Mhm.
wants, you
Mhm.
know, and you
and
have to watch.
I think that goes to her diagnosis. I mean, he was diagnosed. It's not
Yes.
hers. He was diagnosed. He almost got kicked out of daycare. He has had a lot of loving people around him his
Mhm.
entire life. I understand his parents are shitbags, but
Mhm.
he has had between the Terrells, the Van Sants, the Bakers, he has had very nice people around
Mhm.
him, loving people.
Mhm.
This lady put him in horseback riding lessons, which, um, if you've been in Oklahoma for more than a minute, you know, ain't cheap. Okay.
Right.
The instructor called the lesson to a halt early and basically told her, don't bring him back. He's a safety hazard. He's going to get himself killed or kill someone else. She had to beg daycares to bring him back. After he tried to kill his brother, his therapist said, you're going to have to choose between him and the babies. All right.
Mhm.
He was diagnosed with reactive attachment disorder. Okay. People with this disorder tend to hate women, and it's mainly men that have it. Okay. They do. Because it was their mother who did not respond to their needs. Cody has hated all of his foster parents. He has. Let's take a little bit to look at what this is, okay? Reactive attachment disorder. I can understand why he would have this, but with all the love and the therapy and everything he had every coin to turn around on to make his life different.
Mhm.
So when people want to say, "Oh, poor Cody, poor Cody, poor Cody," I'm just no.
No.
is reactive attachment disorder. Reactive attachment disorder is a rare but serious condition in which a child fails to form and establish normal and healthy attachments with parents or caregivers, usually their mothers, before age 5. Attachment develops when a child is repeatedly soothed, comforted, cared for, and when the need of the child is consistently met by the caregiver. When a child forms attachment with a protective and loving caregiver, the child learns to love and trust others, to become aware of others' feelings and needs, to develop healthy relationships, and also a positive self-image. If the child is deprived of such emotional warmth during the first few years of life, it can negatively affect the child's entire future. This can lead to difficulty connecting with their emotions, resulting in a lack of self-worth, a fear of getting close to anyone, and anger. As children with reactive attachment disorder grow older, they either develop an inhibited or a disinhibited pattern. In an inhibited pattern, the child is extremely emotionally detached, withdrawn, and unresponsive to comforting. The child, even though aware,
and piss on that. Because when he finally gets picked on or picked up, not picked on, for what he did to Alana. I saw Atlanta in here. I'm reading comments as I'm commentating. But they'll find someone to take the stand and say, well, this is what this is about. And then you're going to have a jury of a bunch of Baptists. They're going to say, don't give a shit. Don't care. Don't care.
aware of what is occurring around them, doesn't react or respond. They may push others away, ignore them, or get aggressive when people try to get close. In a disinhibited pattern, the child doesn't seem to prefer their parents over other people, even strangers. The child seeks attention, comfort from everyone without any distinction. They display inappropriate childish behavior much younger than their age and may appear anxious. Causes. Reactive attachment disorder is caused by a problematic history of care and social relationships, usually as a result of detachment between a young child and his or her primary caregiver. This can occur for so many reasons, including constant disregard of the child's basic need, constant disregard of the child's emotional needs for comfort, affection, and stimulation. The risk for a child to develop the disorder may increase if the child lives in a children's home or other institution, frequently changes foster homes or caregivers, have parents who have severe mental problems, such as criminal behavior, postpartum depression, anger problems, or substance.
And they check all those boxes.
They check them all except for postpartum depression.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you right now, Cody's mama, it's no. Yeah, we're not putting PPD on her.
Substance abuse that impair parenting, have a separation from parents or other caregivers due to long-term hospitalization. The child has experienced physical, sexual, and verbal abuse with caregivers in their early years. Symptoms. Symptoms in infants. Extreme unresponsiveness or resistance to comforting. Unexplained withdrawal, fear or sadness. Irritability. Failure to smile. Not engaging in social interactions. Lack of interest in playing interactive games or playing with toys. Cries inconsolably. Doesn't reach out to be picked up. Symptoms in young children. Anger problems. An aversion to touch and physical affection. Control issues. Difficulty showing genuine care and affection. Failure to show guilt, remorse after behaving badly. Shuns relationship from everyone. Diagnosis and treatment. As with adults, mental disorders in children are diagnosed based on signs and symptoms suggestive of a particular condition. A thorough, in-depth examination may help. This may include direct observation with parents or caregivers, details about the pattern of behavior over time, questions about the home and living situation since birth, information about interactions with parents or caregivers and others. The doctor will also rule out other psychiatric disorders and determine if there are other mental health conditions that coexist, such as depressive disorders, autism spectrum disorder, and intellectual disability. The doctor may use and follow the criteria written in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, or DSM, published by the American Psychological Association.
Okay, one thing I was reading about this, it won't say it on the video, because I mean, you know, I was becoming a Google doctor after what was said.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes they become homicidal
Mm-hmm.
if the right therapy and the right medication is not put forth. So all the love in the world is not, and all the prizes, all the horseback riding, going to church is not going to fix that wiring.
Mm-mm.
Have you seen anything like that before, Carol?
You know, we rate them. You know, when we arrest people, we pretty much know which ones are we call them hey, that's part of the 16%. And they're out there. They're out there. You know, sometimes they are teachers or doctors or lawyers, police, firemen. You never know, you know, ministers. You never know where they are. They're everywhere. Yeah, that's why you have to don't be slipping. I told you that. Don't be slipping.
Well, Carol, I want to say thank you so much for coming on the show. And I'm sure you are 100% vested in Alana's case now.
Yes.
Because anything you can see with this case. Now, it was New Year's Eve. I had gone to Cajun Ed's, so I was a little hungover. And I was laying in bed, and this this news clip came up. And it was about Alana. And I'm like, what? That just happened outside of Seminole? Holy crap, what the hell's going on here? I've never heard anything about this, but Oklahoma City and Tulsa don't really share each other's news. And I reached out to Heather, and I mean, it was a quick second. She reached back out to me and did a show together. And of course, everyone instantly fell in love with her.
Mm-hmm.
And now here we are, and we're not going to stop. Hold on, everyone. We have a special person here in chat today. It is her birthday. How did you lose your membership, Jinbug? Today is Jinbug's birthday. She is 31 and a half. We love you, Jinbug. Happy birthday and enjoy your vacation. And just for you, Jinbug, I've got a special guest coming on next week about Emily Pike. I can't say she's going to be as special as Carol today, because I tell you what, you knocked my socks off.
Nope.
Well, you know, I'm just going to hope, and then anything that we can do, all she has to do is call. We'll do it.
Thank you.
Oh, I know you will. All right. So, Molly, what's the haps? Anything you can tell us? I know John keeps saying there's a lot of things going on that he can't tell me about. I guess he knows sink ships, and he knows after 5, Brooks might be having a couple drinks and get on the phone.
Yeah, we're making waves, and everything that you're doing, Brooks, and everything that Carol has done and is doing is making an impact. And there's a ripple effect, and it is helping push this right where we need it to go. But I can't give more information than that. But we can't stop. We're not done. We're not done till we get to have our victory party on Cody's sentencing day. So,
and it's happening. It's going to happen. And Cody, I'm not lying. It'll just be you and me up here. We can even do just a recording where you don't have people in chat. I promise I'll clear an afternoon. I won't bitch about my yard or the rain. I promise. It'll be just you and me, and we can just speak freely.
Yeah.
Now, when they say innocent until proven guilty, that's for the courts. That's not for me. I think I have the right to make my own mind up.
Yeah.
I'm
Where
sure.
where there's smoke, there's fire.
Innocent till proven guilty.
Yeah.
Well, special shout out today to Carol. Your friend Monica was in here. Everyone in Alana's army, especially her family. Molly, if you could please give our love to Heather and Kevin.
I'll do that.
Because they need it.
Mm-hmm.
And Carol, you can sit with us anytime. You can be on this show anytime. I don't care if we're talking about which way the leaves fall. Okay.
Right.
Anytime, awesome. if you want to have a conversation about these reformers, let me know. It's pretty ugly here in Oklahoma, not just in Oklahoma County, but Tulsa County is having a problem, and now it's a cancer spreading across the country, the state and the country. But when there's no accountability, and when people have no fear of the legal system or being arrested, this is what happens.
Mm-hmm.
This is what they do when they don't fear what's going to come to them.
Yeah.
And Cody, I'm telling you, hand on the Bible. I don't have one right here. Let's pretend I do. If you come on the show, I promise I will be nice to you. I will be fair with you. Molly won't be here.
Mm-hmm.
John won't be here. It's just going to be you and me, and we're just going to talk this out like normal Oklahomans, okay? Now, I understand that you told Carol that you had feelings for Alana. Now, I'm going to let you know before you come on the show, this is what Alana saw when she saw you.
First things first, where's your shitter? I've got a turtle head poking in. I got a crap on deck that could choke a donkey. Oh.
You really thought you could get a girl like Alana?
Oh.
You really thought you could? But hey, we're going to talk about it. I'm here. Hey, I raised 3 sons. I got you. And I got all of you. Hey, thank you for everything. Thank you for everything you all have done today. Nicely done. Sorry I misunderstood your comment. That's the reason I asked to clarify, because I hate when I misunderstand, text, especially talk to text. And I've gotten, myself in trouble for that before. But yeah, they're not turning Oklahoma blue. Okay. We're not going to have bail reform here. And Cody, there's always somebody watching.
Mm-hmm.
You ladies are amazing. Love you lots. And everybody, thank you so much for being here for Alana Raffield today. I say it every day. I mean it every day. You guys are the best community, the best chat on YouTube, and you're always here for the right reasons. You all have a great rest of, what's going to be a very rainy Thursday here for us. And love you.